Good morning, everybody. Let me start out the morning with my opening of a new bottle of Coca-Cola here. I imagine all of you guys are getting very, very busy with the end of the school term. And I'll let you know I'm in much the same kind of a boat. But I wanted to raise a little bit of a thought for you that might be of interest. First of all, give me a thumbs up if you have found yourself watching any of my class videos more than once as a way of going and maybe trying to find some information or something like that. I know one of the things that is really helpful is having the time markers on the videos, little timestamps for whenever I'm going and changing some of the topics. But this term has been so busy with all the new content going on, plus a whole host of other different things that that I haven't been able to do that kind of stuff. I'm even a little bit behind right now in making videos, although I'm going to be catching up on that. So I came up with an idea in the wee hours of this morning, and I'm going to toss it out for you guys as a way for you guys to make some easy bonus marks. So here's the idea. Just hear me out for this. For those people who would be interested in this, I'm considering giving some bonus marks for the course. It'll just be tacked on top of all your other marks. For those who would watch a given video and add some timestamps and titles for when the topics change. So I've got a couple videos at the start where I've got those little timestamps and you can click on them to move to a particular part of the video. But most of my videos don't have that this term. So for those who would do this and watch the video for that, if they turn around and include at least 6 topic changes, including when the intro, agenda, and outro occur, and send that information to me in the following format. So the intro, of course, starts at timestamp 0. But if I do an agenda, that might be like about 0 minutes, 20 seconds in or something like that. And then I'll go into my different topics that I talk about. And so however many minutes, however many seconds, or when it gets longer in, however many hours or minutes, seconds. And then I have my outro occurring at a certain timestamp as well. So I'm going to give an opportunity to whoever gives a thumbs up to my next question. And what I'll do is I'll set a weight of free 2% on the total course mark if you can give me this information for a single video, and I'll send out the requests for that off of the list of people that I have. So give me a thumbs up if you are interested in helping me with the video timestamps. And if you give me a thumbs up on that in the chat, I'm going to start sending out some of the things, and I'm going to work actually from the most recent videos that I have backwards to the front, to the start of the course. So I'm going to make it worthwhile in terms of it's more likely that if you're going to be rewatching something, it's going to be something that's going to be more recent. And I know I'll have enough stuff for at least one video per person. I might be able to do 2 videos, that sort of stuff. So if you find yourself in a place where you're struggling for a few extra bonus marks than that, I'll probably give you an opportunity to do 2 videos. So that's the first thing that I wanted to go and show you and get you interested in. Okay, let me go over. So my agenda items for today are to, first of all, introduce you to your take-home number 3, implementation planning, which is going to be based on the kind of thing that I showed you last class, on using a GitHub issue to organize your plan for how you're going to implement something. So this one doesn't really involve any coding per se, but it does involve looking at stuff, and I'll give you a little bit of a preview of it in class. It isn't on your take-home assignments yet, but I will hopefully have that out either shortly before or shortly after noon today. And then the other big thing that we're doing in today's class is we're looking at some user interface patterns for Razor page data entry. Now, we've spent a lot of time going over some very specific kinds of scenarios, primarily in our sandbox, to explore things around gathering information from the user, processing business rules. Remember, that was one of the biggest, most recent things, and that sort of stuff. But this time I want to do just kind of a little ad hoc thing to show some of the stuff regarding post versus get versus the post redirect get pattern that I had introduced early on in the course. And I want to talk a little bit about when do we use the post redirect get and when not to use the post redirect get. And we're going to also take a little look at using some multiple routing parameters, because we had seen the use of a single routing parameter, so I want to introduce that. And then show you just a few other UI things. So part of the reason for my putting that in this kind of a pattern where I wind up showing you just a few UI patterns is because, once again, we've really left the area where there's going to be a lot of copy paste. It's going to be a matter of understand and apply, to go and say, well, I know how to do these kinds of things. I've done this kind of user input before. In terms of getting stuff from a radio button list or a selection or a inputs and all that, and binding it to data. I've done this stuff about a few business rules processing in the back end, but I won't be able to copy paste these things. I'm always going to have to look at specifically what's the business need and build off of some of the things that I've learned and piece together the different ideas and put them together. So I want to use a little example that I sketched up really quick for that. And so we're going to take a look at situations where you have multiple drop downs, where you wind up selecting from one, and that should trigger what's available in the next drop down. and then maybe selecting from that will trigger what's available in the next drop down. You've probably seen that for selecting your country and your province and that. We're going to take also a quick look at using some enumerations in a drop down to fill up a drop down. And we're going to bring in on this page where we're going to have these things that have post redirect gets that are tied directly to routing parameter information, but then also bring in some stuff about ASP routing parameters on hyperlinks. And then I've got the kinds of stuff where I'm going to have a bunch of basically a table of information that we're going to need to stay kind of in a mode of post and not have the get portion in order to go and do all the processing before hitting the back end for saving stuff. And that'll mean trying to persist some stuff on the postbacks via a property on the page that may be something like a dictionary. Now, whether you preserve things in a dictionary or a list or something like that, we're going to take an example of that. And the thing that I came up with in the wee hours of the night, and you can see I just did a quick little hand sketch of it, was I thought I would do something where, like I said, we have 3 drop downs. So you choose one and it makes the other things fill up with their own particular content. So if I choose a region in the world, such as the Americas, and then I may have a sub-region like North America or South America, and then I would choose, let's say, countries that are in those regions in a given region. So if I choose North America, I'll probably only get a very short list of countries. And then what's going to happen is when I bring up that information, I'm going to show a list of all the countries that border that particular country that's been selected. Find all the countries that border that information. And then if they go and click on that, then that would effectively change what country we have selected. So it would almost be like a way of going and stopping at some spot in the world and navigating your way, across borders and seeing all that stuff. And then what I thought I would do, just to bring in a little bit more fun with this, is I would look at setting up a bunch of secret agents to go and be in that country. By the way, if this video is being listened to by the NSA or any kind of world powers, I want you to know that this is just a fun imaginary product. I'm not actually going and engaging in any kind of world espionage and all that. Think of it a little bit more like a Disney movie. So we're going to go and have the ability to add a secret agent with a code name and give them an assignment. So they're going to have the kinds of assignments. This will be from an enumeration. Maybe they're going to be a liaison or a field agent or an analyst or logistics or give transport support, and then they'll have a specific mission in terms of that area. And then we will just be able to keep clicking on that to add new people onto our list, and we can click X's to remove them from there. None of this stuff gets hit to the back end to be saved until we go and click the assign. So that's the only time that it goes and hits the back end. Then we'll have a button to clear the form as well. So that's where we're going to go on this. And let's sort of see what happens. So let me go and move some things around a little bit. And I'm going to do this with my sandbox. And just a little bit of moving things around again on the screens. Okay. So just want to do another quick little check. Good question, Mackenzie. Yes, you can code along with me if you want. So I will be going at a reasonable pace here. So if you find yourself struggling to follow along in typical times, you may want to hold back and just watch. But if you want to try to code along with me, feel free. And let me just get a little bit of a number idea. Thumbs up if you do want to try coding along with me this morning, because you're very welcome to do so. I won't go full speed, but I'll be going a little bit faster than what I have done in some of my other classes. And again, this is the beauty of having this thing recorded. You'll be able to check that stuff out. So I'm going to start off by making use of a particular library that I found in the wee hours of the morning. Actually, let me just first of all do Control F5, make sure that everything is running nicely. And it looks like it is. Maybe I'll increase the size a little bit. And I'm going to need a little bit of data to help me with this. And I'm going to rely not upon a database for this, but I'm going to get this out of a NuGet package that I found. So I'm going to start with the backend dependencies, and I'm going to manage my NuGet packages to bring in a particular package that I settled on after looking through a number of them. It is called Nager.country, I believe it is. So this particular one is a nice little NuGet package that gives a whole bunch of world info on countries in the world in terms of where the countries are in their region or sub-region of the world, what their language is, what their currencies, they have or use, that sort of stuff. And it is got a setup for .NET 5, which is really nice. So there's no dependencies in that way. So it's pretty clean. And we'll take the latest one, which is 3.1.1. By the way, I want to give you a little bit of a note, and this relates to that short little 6-minute video I mentioned before. If when you're looking at your NuGet packages and you see updates like I have for this thing here, you'll notice that some updates that are from Microsoft right now go to .NET 6. Just leave it at the 5.0 point whatever you've got in there. I've actually you can see even from the time that we started this, it was 5.0.10, and still along the 5 line it goes up to 5.0.12. I'll just leave it at whatever it was before. Typically in a real world situation, you will want to try to keep up for your NuGet packages, but We're not doing that today. Let me go back and do that Nagar.country one. And let's install 3.1.1. And the guy has a nice little README text that pops up with this big thank you and letting us know that we can use it for whatever we want. But if we do want to send them money, we will. But you are poor students, so you don't have to worry about that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the About service, and I'm going to do a little bit of stuff inside of here. So I'll make this part of the About service. First of all, I'm just going to put a little region and end region around the existing code for getting the database. And I should really, for the region part, put a name on there. So this is get database information. So I'm just doing that so I can go and collapse this bit of code. And I noticed my zoom was down to 82. Let's get it back up to 100. That's a lot better. Helps me in my older years. So I'm going to do another little region, and this is going to be this is going to be basically about world information. And I'm going to create a method. I'm going to just start it out as a public void. We'll get the return type in there in just a little bit. But public void list world regions. And we'll start off with just the information that we need for the first part of the service in regard to this, and we're going to make use of a using statement. I'll just put this. You'll notice your using statements have tended, when they've been added automatically for you, they've tended to go alphabetically. They don't have to, but it's kind of nice to find the stuff. I'll put in a using thing for Nagar, and then I think, yeah, Nagar.country. Let's do Nagar.country. Cool. And I'll make an I country provider. Country provider is equal to a new, or is equal to, how did that work again? Yeah, a new country, yeah, new country provider. There it is. Was there any parameters on that? No, there wasn't. And I'll just collapse this area of using statements as well to get some screen real estate. So let's see. I have a country provider object now, and this is going to be something where I can get countries, or I can get a single country by its string alpha 2 or 3 code, so like Canada is CA, or the United States is US or USA. So there are international standards for identifying countries. We can get the country by its name as well. But I want to get all of the countries But what I want to do is, by the way, I'm using this in Visual Studio 2022, which is why you're seeing all this suggested stuff. Not exactly what I want, but they're telling me, hey, maybe this is what you want. But when I get the countries, what I want to do is I want to select a country such that I get the country COUNTRY dot region. And specifically, I want to get a distinct set of them as a list. So the return, so this is a list of region information. Cool, that's good. Oh, I better have a little variable, var result is equal to all of that. And I'll just make it look a little bit prettier. So I'll put it like this. So for the country provider, I will get the countries, select the region portion, and just get the distinct ones as a list. And then I will return the result. Now, when you have a return of something and you've turned out and started it as a void, that means that you're going to need to convert it from being a subroutine. Subroutine is a method that does not return anything, into a function, which is a method that actually returns something. So I'm going to change it from being a void to a list of region. And then just make sure that that all compiles nicely. And give me a quick little bit of a thumbs up if you, when you have this coded. I'm going to wind up coming back to the About Services page later on when I'll look to get a list of the sub-regions for a given region, and when I come to get a list of the countries in a given sub-region, and so on. Better clear my throat here. Awesome. I've got 12 out of the 11 people coding along with me on this. That feels good. I'm going to need a little idea for a page to make in my web app. So from my Solution Explorer, I'm going to right-click on Pages, and I'm going to want to add a Razor page. There'll be an empty Razor page, and I think I'm going to call this something like by agency. Yeah, that'll be a good name for it. So this is going to be a spy agency. And I'm not going to do anything in the front part yet, but what I will do is I will pop into the page model class, because I'm going to need to have a private read-only about service in the backend DLL, which I will call service. And then I'll have a spy agency model that needs an about service. And I'll set the service underscore service equal to the service. So that's my dependency injection. And then I know I'm going to have the that other third-party library brought in here as well. So I'll just say using nagger.country, that I can come down here and then make a public list of region world regions with a get and a set. And it doesn't know what the list of T is yet, so I need to have my using system collections generic. That's the namespace for all of my list of T. And then I've got, of course, my Niagara country. So those are my two using statements to bring things in. And what I'll do inside of here is I'll set the world regions equal to a new list of region. You know, the more that I start to use Visual Studio 2022, the more impressed I am with it in terms of what it's able to go and do for me in terms of guessing what I might want to be doing. Remember, it's not intelligence, but it's artificial intelligence. So it's trying to do a little bit of thinking, but it doesn't really know what you want to do. In this case, it's bang on. I want to get the world regions from as not as a new list of regions. I shouldn't say it's bang on. I've got world regions is equal to the service to get the world regions. That's what I really want to do. But let's see. Not get world regions. What was it called? List world regions. There we go. So didn't entirely know my code, but it had the idea. Now I would have the ability to do my drop down information to list the world regions. So quick little bit of a thumbs up when you have this model class coded. Once again, do a build on this to make sure that everything builds quite nicely, that you don't have any compile errors. We're trying to do this in small steps. And we're going to need to have well, we'll do the drop down for this, and then we'll make sure that we add it into our navigation for our pages. So with that being said, let me just pull. I'm gonna unpin this because I want to use as much screen real estate as possible. So over here on the page, I'll put a little H1 spy agency deployment center. We'll let them know we're Canadian based by the way we spell center. And I'm going to have a I'm going to have a simple little form method. It's equal to a post. And inside of this, I'm going to have some labels, a label that says region and then I'll have a select that has an ASP4 equal to the world regions, not an ASP4, an ASP items dash items equal to model.world regions. That's better. I'll get the 4 on there in just a bit. Except oh, that's right. I won't be able to do it that way because I'm not doing a select list item. I'll take that ASP items off. I'll do it the old way for a list. So I'll have an option with a value equal quote quote, which will say region information, and then I will have a at for each var place in model.world regions, and I will have the ability to put in an option now with a value equal to at place dot something. I'll figure that out, and I'll have at place dot that shows everything. Only methods, no. That's flag. You know what? I'm going to just make it at place. See what I get. I want to see what I get for that. So I'll do that. And then meantime, on the left-hand side, I'm just going to quickly open up my layout page because I want to have a link to my spy agency. Spies are us. Just so that I can have a little navigation link for that. So once again, give me a thumbs up when you have this CSHTML coded. We're doing pretty good so far. Good question on that. So, and actually to do that, let me go back to this part here. So on a select tag, we can populate it. With either a manual loop that we're doing on our own, like we've got right now, or with ASP.items. And ASP.items requires the data as a particular type. Basically, it requires it as a list of select list items. That's the data type. But our type here is a list of regions. Therefore, we're doing it as a manual loop. If we had this data as a list of the MVC select list items, I believe is what the data type is. Then we could have used the ASP items equals and then give the name of the world religions. And we wouldn't even need to put a loop in there at all. We could still put in our default first line, but all the rest of it would have been populated for us. So that's why it's we're taking a bit of a manual approach. Okay, with that in mind, I'm going to run this. I want to see what happens. Control F5. Oh, it's probably already done that. Let me go back up here. Spies are us. And then I've got my nice little world region, right? Asia, Europe, Africa, Oceania, Americas, Antarctic. So I could have done some sorting on this, but you notice it's just basically a string. So as I go and I look at, if I were to inspect any of this, I would see my option values are just the names of the region. So that's good enough. But I'm going to want to put a little bit of something else with that. What I want to do is I want to be able to choose the particular region and then have it as part of the routing parameter up here. So right now for the spy agency, if I went and I selected like Europe, I would want to see spy agency / Europe in my URL. And that's the kind of a thing I'm going to do for the for the region, the subregion, and the country. So we're going to do all of that stuff there. So that means that I need to have a property on this for a public string region name. And specifically, I'm going to want this to be a bind property with a supports get equal to true. So I'm adding in this thing to get the region name. And then over here on my CS.html, I'm going to say I have this routing parameter that takes in a region name that is optional. So this part of the routing URL is basically making sure that when either a get or a post request occurs, if I've got a region, then that's going to be tied into there. And actually what I should also do is I should finish off my select where I have my ASP4, which will be equal to the region name. So once again, you're going to wind up seeing there's a connection that's happening in terms of all of this being able to work and play nicely together as part of the built-in model binding. So it'll take this information of whatever is selected and it'll go and it'll produce essentially a post back that's going to use whatever information is supplied in there. And I'm going to make use of the post redirect get pattern as well. So I'm going to have a general public public action result on post, which will do general handling of the navigation of selecting a region, sub-region, country from the drop-downs. And what I'll do is I will return a redirect to page where I put in a new anonymous type. And in there, I will say the region name is going to be whatever region name was supplied in the property. So again, to sort of, and let me actually, again, play a little nicer with the formatting of this. Just so you'll be able to see, I'm going to be adding in more items there. But what's important to note about this is this region name is this region name, which is this region name, and it also essentially is this region name as well via the supports get equal true. So there is that kind of an association there. But this region name is a property name on my anonymous type that I'm declaring here. So when I say new, and I don't say the class name or the data type, I'm creating an anonymous type. And this doesn't have to be the same as what this has. So the key thing to note about all of this is that this part is essentially has a value because it is the property of my spy agency model class. Okay, so that's why I've outlined that in blue. But this property name on my anonymous type can be whatever I want it to be. But I want it to be, because this is going to be a post redirect get, I want it to be the name, the region name that I have. And let me undo that and change my color. I want it to be this region name that I have right here. So it's kind of a cyclical approach, but I want you to recognize when I'm talking about the property and when I'm talking about that is the property of my page model versus when I'm talking about a property name that I'm making up, which is just part of this anonymous type. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I've got this routing parameter that is using that same name. So here's my routing parameter. So that's my explanation of what's happening in this as all part of being a post redirect get pattern. And I'm going to have more parts of the URL for all of this. So let me take a screenshot. of this information. It's quite helpful. And I'll paste that in. So all of this should be pretty nice for showing all of this information. But right now on our page, on our actual web page, all I've got is the ability to select the region. That's about all that's happening. It would be nice if when I select from this drop down, it automatically posts back. But to get that working, we have to take the slightest bit of a dive into JavaScript. It's not going to be much. We're basically going to have an on change event on this that we'll want to have use this dot form dot submit. So let me just go and line this up a little bit. So that little bit of JavaScript is going to cause the page, if I've done the JavaScript right, and I think I have, I'm doing it just from memory right now. If not, I'll fix it up. But that on change, this dot form submit for my select is going to make sure that when I choose something, it'll actually do a post redirect get. We do a quick check to make sure it's right. If I go and I choose Asia, voila, look at it. There it is, Asia. It's gone and done a post back to get me that information. That is cool. That is extremely cool. And if I go and I select something else, such as Europe, it'll do a post back and it'll get Europe. And if I just go to choose region, which is nothing, then it'll come back with it being empty there as part of the URL. Now it's taking a little bit of time to run. Yes. By the way, as a little side note, if you ever learn how to do Blazor, Blazor is a way to use C# in the browser rather than JavaScript. But that would be part of my 20 credit course, which you guys are not enrolled in yet. So now I'm going to do one little bit of optimization because this is taking a while to run. Every time I go and select something, I mean, like that's taking a few seconds to run, which is a little bit not that great. So what I'll do, I could do caching in a few different ways, but I'm going to do the poor man's caching idea for my about service. And what I'll do is I will have a private static list of region underscore world regions. Just have that set to there. And I will say, I'm going to change this var result to be a, I'll take that result part out, or var part out, and I'm going to create a list of region result. Okay, just sort of separate it out a little bit. And I'll make that equal to the underscore world regions, just do a quick little reference. And I'll say if result is null, what I'll do is I will actually get all of this stuff. And I'll make result equal to all of that stuff there. And I will also turn around and set the world regions equal to the result. So what I've done is I've implemented a poor man's cache. In other words, on the first request of this static thing is probably going to be empty, but I know it's not going to change. The data is not going to change. So once that's done, I'll just keep it, and it's a static piece of information. It's always going to be available there. I won't have to do get countries, select with a distinct over it and turn it to a list, because the big problem that I had was in working with the country provider, I was finding that this was a little bit slow. Okay. So that's why I was turning around and caching it. Should we return world religions instead? You know what? I could simplify this and just say if underscore world religions equals null, and then make world religions equal to that, and then return world religions. That would actually be a simplified way of doing it. So Graham, some good comments. I could turn around and shorten the amount of code that I have here by about 2 lines of code, and making it a little bit simpler probably would make it a little bit easier to maintain. I'll leave that as an exercise for you guys to do, okay? Because we're going to be hitting a break pretty quick here. So with this done, let me just pop back. So the first request takes a little while, but the later requests should go faster, but they didn't go a lot faster. Only slightly. I'll have to do some profiling stuff to see why that is. So what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of a to do, find out why this seems to be taking so long. I probably won't get a chance to show you how to do profiling this term, but there's some good videos out there on it. If you search for channel 9, that's a Microsoft channel of videos for all sorts of good things, and they'll have stuff for profiling in Visual Studio as well. Yeah, it's another part of that 20 credit course. Notice that I've been selling you on this 20 credit course, but I have not yet told you how much it's going to cost. Okay, it is just after 9. We need a little bit of a break. Let's take about a 10-minute break. I can already tell that I'm not going to be able to get through this entire demo that I sketched out at the beginning in today's class, but I hope to be getting the post redirect get stuff working for the region, subregions, and country, with showing the border country information. So that's where we'll probably wind up at the end of today's class, but we'll come back in 10 minutes and continue on. I see there was a hand up from Graham. Did you have a question? I saw that flash up there. Ignore that. Okay, sounds good. We're back from the break. I want to get some more of this routing worked out for my spy agency. I've already got this thing for a list of world religions, and I've got the region name. I want to go and put another bind property with a supports get equal to true. But this is going to be a public string sub-region name with a get and a set. So that's what I want to have for this. And so that means in my routing, I've got a page that goes to the region name, which is optional, followed by a sub-region name, which will also be optional. And I'm going to want to get it all set up to produce the subregions as well. Now notice that I'm designing my page routing in a way that builds upon the previous one. So I can't have a subregion name without a region name. They're both optional, but if I have a subregion name, that means I have to have a region name as well. That's just part of the way the HTTP URL system works. So this is giving me the opportunity to kind of drill down to that part of the world that I'm interested in. So what I would want then as well is to have a public list of subregions that I can go and populate from my service. So I'll have my subregions be equal to whatever I get from my service to get subregions based upon the region name that I currently have. Now I don't have that method coded yet. I'm about to be going and coding this, but I want to pause and give you guys a moment to catch up. So just give me a little bit of a thumbs up when you've got the front end code done. So essentially what I've gone and done is I've added in the subregion name, the list of subregions, and this code right here. And on the CSHTML, I've done that part. So just let me know when you've got that part coded. Then we'll turn our attention to the About service. Okay, I don't have that get subregions method yet. That's why I've got a little red squiggle on there. But I intend to create it on my About Service class. Here's something, again, that's really nice inside of Visual Studio, is when you do a control dot, you'll probably get an option somewhere to declare a method. And you can see it already knows that it would take in a string, because that's the data type of the region name that's being passed in. And it would need to return a list of subregions, because that's where I'm storing the information. If you learn the grammar of the C# language, you can tell the method signature of any method by how you're calling it, how you're using it. I know, for example, that the list of world religions, or regions, world religions. My Bachelor of Christian Service degree popping to the surface again. So my list of world regions, which doesn't take anything, gives me back a list of region, because I can see that the data types, I know the data type of my world regions, so I know the data type of what's coming back from that. Likewise, with my subregions, I would know the data type that would have to come back from get subregions, and I would know the data type of the parameter that would have to be created. So if I go inside here and I go control dot and declare the method, my thing, because I'm using Code Rush, gives this to me right away, but for yours, it may just create it and not see anything. You'll just see the red squiggle go away. If that's the case, then just you can just press F12 or click on the About Services, and then you can start into coding with this. And I'm probably going to want to ultimately do some building of stuff with this. Probably, I wonder if creating the country providers has been taking a little bit of time. I'll worry about optimizing that a little bit later on. But I'll just kind of do a little bit of copy paste, and country provider. So that's and oh, look at this. var subregions. I'll actually say var result is equal to country code provider dot get the countries dot select the sub region. I'll just say sub region, lowercase, where the or actually I should say this is actually the country, and where I'm wanting to get the country's sub region, and then make that a list. It's a little bit messy right now on my code. So let me scroll this up a little bit, and then I'll get it fixed up. Oh, it's getting very messy. And I'll return the result. Okay, so let me just, I'll just do a quick little F2, change that to provider. Poof. Provider. I'll leave it like that. Get countries, select to list, but I actually need to filter it. So I'm going to say where the country has a country region that matches the region name that was passed in. Oh, country.region dot to, I know what I'll do. I'll say dot equals the region name. That's better. Okay. Thumbs up when you have this new about service method coded. And essentially, I'm going to have another drop down. Subregion. That will be for the sub-region name. And I will say sub-region, but it's not going to be in the model.world regions. It's going to be the model.sub-regions. So now I have this extra drop down in as well. So can I fit everything in there? No, it's a little bit much. I will do this as a screenshot. Little soft shutter sound. So there's the code. And thumbs up when you have the new drop down also coded. So and my code isn't quite working yet. I can see that from the subregion. So I'm going to probably need to think about how I do the comparison then. So I think I probably need to go and create a region. It's an enum. Ha ha ha. Region is an enumerator. That's awesome. You know what? Since region is an enumerator, I feel so silly now that I know that it's an enumerator. If I wanted to manually convert a region is equal to, if I wanted to manually parse, actually I'll do a try parse, and I'll say enum try parse region name out region. There it is. And then if I make sure that the region equals, not the region name, but the region, let me just do a quick little check, make sure that that actually worked. Yes. So there's all the places out of Europe. If I look at the Americas, we've got Caribbean. I didn't even thought about, oh, I need to have them distinct as well. Select that, make it distinct. And let's just double check. So for the Americas, there it is. Okay, cool. Okay, that's a little bit better. So here, I've given you a little bit of a bonus. So this is an example of converting string to an enumerated value. Now that I've kind of clued into the fact that region itself was an enumeration, and I bet you subregion is also an enumeration, I could have even done this simpler without even having to do these methods in the back end. But that's okay. That's good enough. You're getting all sorts of little goodies out of this. Updated back end method. Paste the image inside of there. Once again, thumbs up when you have it coded. Double check that it's working for you in the browser. And if you are running into any compiler errors, you can raise those in the chat. I or somebody else in the class can go and do that. The method above this one, the method above the get subregions was our get region, was our list regions. So this is the only new method that we've added into the about service. So the previous one, and I'll just sort of collapse it a bit, is this list world regions. Do a thumbs up on your own question if I've answered that as well. Okay, let's see, 9:36. I think I can get the country finished on all of this. In fact, I'm going to do a little something for this. I'm going to create another method here. So you're getting a nice little mix of things. Going to create a, I'll start it off as a public void. Oh, you put it in the .cs by accident? Okay. Or the CSHTML.cs or something like that. Yeah, okay. So public void, I'm going to say get countries. And it's going to take in a sub-region area. And I will once again have an iCountry provider. Provider is equal to a new country provider. And let's see, var result is equal to the provider dot okay, get countries dot where the country has the country sub-region equaling the area. And I'll convert this to a list as well. I won't have to worry about making it distinct or anything, and I can return the result. Make it a list of country info. So here's going to be my new method. And I'll just lay this out a little bit better. There. So that's going to be my new list. Notice what's different about this particular or new method. Notice what's different about this particular method is that I am actually using this enumerated value subregion as a parameter versus the previous one I used a string. I know that when I get information coming back from the browser, it's always coming from the browser to the web server as name value pairs, and it's all text, it's all strings. But will my model binding allow me, if I have the subregion selected and I have this ASP4, if I change this subregion name into a subregion type instead of a string, will that work still? That will be interesting. So again, just to highlight, when I hover over subregion, I can see it's an enumeration. So that's nice. Do you want your method to share a name with the iCountry provider method? Yeah, you notice I've been recreating this iCountry provider each time. And that's been a little bit, it's a little bit expensive. I could probably turn around and simplify it. In fact, what I probably should do is I should ultimately turn this iCountry provider into a dependency in my about services, because I have methods that are using it a lot. So I am effectively depending upon that. Be nicer, instead of newing it up all the time, if it was coming to me from my dependency injection. But I'll look at doing that as a part of a cleanup in a later class here. Oh, okay, that wasn't quite the question you're asking. We have get countries, which is the same as iCountry provider get countries. But so we've got our get countries, but it's getting the countries for a subregion. That's the key. So if I choose the subregion of the Caribbean, I would like to get all of the countries that are in the Caribbean. So if that answers your question, do a thumb up, or if I still have misunderstood it, help me understand. And let me put in a quick little thumbs up when you have coded the new get countries subregion method. Oh, you're speaking to the best practices, if it's okay. So yeah, it probably would be better if I did have something that was maybe just the list of countries, because that's what I'm starting with all the time. So yes, I've got lots of room to clean up my code, and it would be best for me to do it. I should never really stop at the point that I have only got it working. I should turn around and then clean up my code, because it's probably going to be messy. So yeah, that's a good point, Fred. Ali, when you ask for the .cs file, are you asking for the spy agency .cshtml? Is that the one? Okay, sure. What I'll do is I'll just move that one over here for the moment on the right-hand side. Oh, am I going over assignment 3 in this class as well? Mackenzie, thank you so much. I had forgotten about all of that. Tell you what, I will do it. So I'm going to, in my onGet method, I'm going to do a quick little to-do, resume class here. So I remember where I left off. And when we come back on Monday, I'm going to pick up at this spot right here. And then what I will do is I will mention about assignment 3. And let me find that. Oh, where did I thought I had put that inside of there. Did I put it in the wrong place? I might have put it in the wrong place. Did I? La-di-da-di-da. Okay, let me open this. See if I can find it. I wonder if it's in the other one. Oh, I know I just made that. But I can't remember where I put that. Obviously, I'm going to have to edit this video to cut out this part. You know, you still have to do it. You still have to do it. You're not getting off. Not getting off easy like that. I won't allow it. Um, that's what happens when you do it so early in the morning. Okay. Let me open that with code. Let me collapse all those. I was pretty sure I'd put it inside of there. There. Where's there? There's where I put it. I knew I put it somewhere. And now I know where I put it. Okay. So, okay, Control Z. So this is the implementation planning exercise that I'm going to release today. I am making it due on Monday, but it can be by the end of the day on Monday. Okay, so 11 o'clock in the evening Monday, try to have the implementation planning exercise. Its whole weight is going to be 4%, and essentially there's you're creating a GitHub issue, which you're going to call customer picking order design. And you're going to give it a milestone, which is called planning customer picking order. That milestone should have that same due date, November 29th. And then in the issue, you can leave the description portion with just a placeholder that says implementation tasks to be determined. And here's what you're going to have to do, though, in the rest of the commentary on that issue. I'll want you to identify any get, post, and post redirect get interactions that happen as the result of the user clicking buttons or working with stuff on the screen that causes any calls to the web server. And include a copy of this mock-up image that I've got right down below here. So you'll have one comment section that will talk about the user interface experience. You're going to have another comment section that's going to talk about the data models, where you don't have to do any screenshots of your tables or anything like that, but you need to base the data models on the information that is needed by the user interface versus the information that we have in our normalized database. Make the connection there. And you can do a class diagram if you want to do a picture, or you can do the C# code snippets as a little fenced code block in your markup there for the data models portion. And for the business processing requirements, the only thing that I'm looking for there is for you to give a method signature, which basically gives you the name of the method, the parameters going in, and the data type going out. So identify them all by their data types, those parameters and return types. And then for each method signature, just make a list of the validation work that has to be done and what database tables you're going to be working with inside of that method. This particular planning exercise is geared toward helping you as well for what you're doing in your first deliverable in the project. So if you have any questions about this particular one over the weekend, just let me know in the private chat and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. So here's the basics of it. We've got a form that's designed to collect picking information for a customer's order to report what items have been gathered and set aside for the customer. In other words, when a customer goes and places their order with our grocery system and we print off the list of stuff to give to our picker as they run down the aisles and get all the stuff, when that picker is finished and they get back with all of the items for this particular customer, they should be able to enter in the order number and their own picker ID and click the fetch. So that blue fetch one goes and touches the database and gives back the information for this order here, as well as information on the customer. That's what we grab out of the fetch. This is going to be based upon that grocery one, so I'm going to put in the ERD for this as well, so you can see. And remember, you don't have to actually code anything. You don't have to implement it. This is your implementation planning. That's what we're interested in. I'm interested in seeing your plan, your thought process about connecting all the stuff between the front end and the back end. So it's going to be issue and milestone only, one milestone, one issue with several comments on the issue. The user will wind up having to, the picker will wind up having to fill in all the stuff of what they picked off of the shelves. And then when they're done, they'll click the save button. That save button is the thing that'll go to the business logic layer. So I can already tell you right now on the business logic layer, there really is only two methods, fetch and save. Although from the fetch button, you could break that one into two separate methods, one to give a list of these things and one to just get the customer information. But it might be cleaner just to get it all at once. Your choice. You can have one or two methods on the business logic layer for the fetch, but on this save, you will definitely only have one method. You'll have only one method in the business logic layer for saving the customer picking order or picking results. Maybe it'll be called save picking results or something like that. And then you're going to do the following business processing. Oh, good. The ERD is already there. Wonderful. So the business processing, here's what you have to get, or here's for the fetch, the order number and picker ID are what's required. Basically, again, you can break that into two methods if you want to get the list of things versus the customer name. And that's interesting why picker ID is being required for that. Probably is validation or whatever in the fetch. Maybe we'll see. I might take that part out. And the save is picker ID might be needed to get the picker name. And the save requires the order number and the picker ID to be sent in, and all of the items where the quantities have information has been supplied. And then you have to pay attention to some of these business rules. And this is the ERD you'd be working with. That is the take-home assignment that I'm going to release for you guys today. And it probably will be after. It probably will be this afternoon that I get that released out to you guys. Not a new repo. This is going into your take-home exercises repository. That's where you can find this. It'll be there as a pull request. So check out your take-home exercises repository for pull requests on this implementation planning exercise. Due date, once again, is Monday, November 29th. How long should this take you? It should take you, I think, at most a couple of hours. So due Monday at 11 p.m. And that's all I have for you for today. Thank you guys so much. And when we come back on Monday, I will be continuing where we left off on some of these UI patterns. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye for now.